Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Saturday Morning Comic Review. I'm your host, Dylan Wallace. Today, we got a great issue for you guys. We are going to be reading all the books that I picked up for this week, plus a couple of backlogs as well. We'll go into the pulls for this week, the reviews, and then we'll talk about the pulls for next week. Do want to give you guys a heads up. This is going to be the last issue for 1 week, basically. Going on vacation. I should have planned this out where I actually should have released the Omega as this Saturday's issue, and then what I'm recording right now I should have released for next Saturday, so that way there was no break or gap. But I didn't think about that ahead of time, and I don't think I'll have enough time to record something else before we go ahead and leave on Monday. So this will be the last one this Saturday. Don't expect one until probably the Omega for the following week, so sometime like the 24th or something like that would be the next issue. So just bear that in mind. And I was looking at it for pulls. Probably going to have close to 19 books when we come back. So plenty of recent stuff for the next couple of issues and Omegas afterwards. But, that's just a bit of an announcement just so you're aware. So yeah, I think with that, we can just go ahead and jump in. It'll kind of be a standard issue in here. So let's talk about the pulls for this week. Of course, before we do, I always like to talk of what are the picks of the week from League of Comic Geeks. So we have the top 5 listed out here. For the audio folks, I'll go ahead and go through it. For the video folks, you can see it here. Absolute Wonder Woman, the 2026 annual, has 39% of the vote. That is number 1. Then it's DCKO, issue number 4, with 13% of the vote. Bleeding Hearts, issue number 1, with 9%. Cyclops, number 1, with 7%. Mark Spector, Moon Knight, number 1, with 6% of the vote. So that rounds out the top 5 of the best books for this week. I have 2 of the 5, which is good. I always like to have at least 2, so that means I'm picking up and reading the right stuff. I was wondering if Sirens was going to be on here. The first issue for Black Label, that came out this week, and I saw it on the shelf. I was thinking about picking it up. I should have just looked at the reviews right then and there, but I decided not to. And then I went home and I was still thinking about it. And I looked up those reviews and it was like mid-3s. I think it was a 3.6 when I last looked at it. So I'm kind of glad I dodged that bullet, but it did seem interesting. And you know me, I like reading a lot of the Black Label stuff, but I do also get burned a lot by Black Label stuff, assuming that it's going to be good because it's darker and more mature and grittier, but not always necessarily the case. So those are the top 5. Let's go ahead, flip over to the actual polls so you can go ahead and take a look at those. Just 5 here, and we're reading all of them. So we had Absolute Wonder Woman issue, or the 2026 annual, DCKO number 4, the Rocketfellers number 12, Transformers number 29, and then World Tree issue number 18. So nice small poll list for this week. And we'll be reviewing 10 books, so the remaining 5 are going to be backlog issues. So with that, I think we can go ahead and jump right in to the reviews for this week. So like I mentioned, 10 books on the docket as per usual. We'll go ahead and go through them. Oh, I just realized I didn't have the full stack listed up here because I have some of these larger trades, but it is going to be in this particular order here. So we have DCKO issue number 4, then it would be the Absolute Wonder Woman annual, the Rocketfellers issue number 12, World Tree number 18, and then Transformers number 29. So those are all from this week. Then we get into the backlog. It's going to be Saga issue number 50 as we round out the anthology package of those 9 volumes. Then Poison Ivy issue number 18, which is the last issue in this volume, so we'll be closing that one out. Issunboshi Chapter number 4, Fables 160, and then Echolands issue number 3. So those will be the books in that order. In case you folks want to jump around to something that sounds interesting to you, or you're trying to stay current on something because you've been listening podcast over podcast, but this is your first time jumping in. Just to give you fair warning here, I do spoil the heck out of all these books, so if you're not interested in spoilers, it's just not going to be the show for you. But I will give you my score on League. I'll give you the League score as well. I'll try to catch you up as much as I can. We'll review the book itself. I'll show off some of the artwork, and then I'll let you know whether or not it is a good one to jump into. So that's kind of the format. We'll do that for each and every book. Starting off here with DCKO issue number 4. So we are in the midst of this DC event. This is kind of the major event that's going on in DC right now. It's this big tournament trying to figure out who's going to be the Omega King to restart the universe. We're down to our final 4. So we have Lex, we have Wonder Woman, we have the Joker, and we have Superman. So those are the final 4. They have to face off against all the Absolute Universe Trinity. And so we have this big battle that takes place. So the battle starts, and all kind of the standard universe folks get the sense that these dark side absolute versions, they all have, or at their essence or at their core, have dark side's like influence. And so they're trying to do the best way that, how do they defeat that, right? It's maybe not actually be the individuals themselves, but somehow, some way they're corrupted. Joker, pretty early on, says that he wants to change sides to the absolute side, which is hilarious. And then there's also Booster there too. So Booster's on the absolute side, and he basically reveals himself that he is Darkseid himself. So once that reveal comes out, then Batman, of all, in our standard universe, he shows up, and he's basically like, yeah, I was able to somehow, some way find my way in here. Who knows really how. I know that there was another branching story. I think it was DCKO Night Terror, something like that. But he found his way in. That kind of evens up the odds, and they're basically able to find a way to where they can remove the dark side influence. And so now you have all the Absolutes heroes on one side. Lex is kind of off to the side there, facing off against both Joker and then now Booster, who is Darkseid himself. So they're able to neutralize Joker and neutralize Booster, but then Darkseid himself actually erupts out of the corpse of Booster and unleashes this enormous blast. Wipes out everyone. Wipes out both Batmans, Superman on the absolute side, both Wonder Woman's, and the only one that's still left standing, as the story is saying it, is our regular Superman. And she's just barely holding on. And then when the blast finishes, it's like, Superman, you're going to have to do better than that. However, it left an opportunity for Lex, who I guess was hiding behind Superman so he didn't get the full brunt of the blast. And Lex turns his weapon on to Superman. And then since Superman's like hanging on by 1%, Lex is able to destroy him. So with that, Lex Luthor has now technically won this tournament. So that is a majority of the story. Then we get at the very end, and it's Darkseid. He's having a conversation with, I think it's Saturn Girl, and this is, I think, years before the tournament, but it's in the Absolute Universe, and basically laying the groundwork for all this stuff that's going to happen as it's unfolding. And it's basically like Darkseid is foreseeing it taking place, but he needs the help of Saturn Girl to try to find a vessel for himself. And I think that's supposed to be Booster, who he ends up taking over. So that takes place. And then at the very end, when you turn and you see the brackets where it has it all broken down, it has Lex Luthor winning on one side, but it still has Darkseid listed, and you still have the final below. So the next issue may actually be the true battle of like who gets to be the Omega King, so we'll see. But it's actually not KO. It's like called something else. Actually, let's go ahead and flip to it, because it's called the Omega King, or the King Omega is what it's going to be. So that is the story. Overall, I gave it, flipping over to it, I gave it a 3.5. League gave it a 3.9. So League was a little higher on it than I was. For me, I didn't like the fact that you had Lex winning the way that he did, Batman still joining when he maybe doesn't make a lot of sense. And then the storytelling itself was fine and serviceable, but as you look through the art, sometimes the art was like super confusing of like, where do we have these characters like posed and positioned as they're fighting one another? They're fighting their their alternate universe version of themselves, which is kind of odd and didn't 100% work for me, and thus the book kind of suffered a little bit. So I ended up on a 3.5 there. Let's go ahead and show off some of the artwork. As far as jumping in, it's gonna be tough to jump in at this point, folks, to just be honest with you. But if you wanted to, I guess you're just going to understand that, all right, now would be the time of trying to figure out who's King Omega. But I would recommend starting from the beginning. So it's mostly a fight scene issue, right? You just have this big battle between both sides. So a lot of reds, a lot of oranges, a lot of purples, and mostly Darkseid being super fiery. So here is where Darkseid is like foreseeing the future here, where he's dealing with Saturn Girl and needs a vessel for himself. And then the hint at the King Omega being the next issue. So yeah, that is DCKO issue number 4. Again, I gave it a 3.5, and League gave it a 3.9. The next book here is going to be Absolute Wonder Woman, the 2026 annual. No wonder this one got the pick of the week, because this is also my pick of the week as well. I gave it a 4.5. League gave it a 4.7. It was heading towards a 5 up until the ending, just because it didn't quite hit where I was hoping it would go. But this book is incredible. What a great one to just go ahead and jump in. As it is with any annuals, it's only like tangentially connected to what the story is happening here, so you can just go ahead and read through it. Art style is very similar to what you've seen kind of throughout, which is great. And then the storytelling is actually more reminiscent of the earlier issues of Absolute Wonder Woman rather than the current ones, which I personally prefer. So that gives it another higher mark for me as well. But this story is so cool. It picks up on a thread that happened way back in issue number 5, where Wonder Woman had to destroy this tetracide that was threatening Gate City. And the way that she did it is she stole Medusa's powers, or like borrowed them, so that way turned the tetracide to stone, was able to destroy it. But in the time that she turned the tetracide to stone, and the limited time that she used that power, she could see how lonely it was that nobody would look at her, right? Because she had the powers of Medusa. And so she understood what it meant to have that curse and wants to lift the curse of Medusa. But she needs Athena's help in order to do it. So she prays to Athena for many weeks, months, however long it is, until Athena finally answers her. And so Athena answers, sends down an owl. Wonder Woman follows it, doesn't even realize that she climbed this enormous mountain, gets to the top, and then Athena is revealed. And the way that they drew Athena, it already is a contender for like the best double page splash of the year. Just the art style of Athena alone. It's like, if this was a skin in a video game, I am buying it 100%. It is so freaking awesome. And basically, Wonder Woman pleads to Athena, hey, I know you guys got beef. I don't necessarily know how everything went down. The mythology says one thing. Mythology has a tendency to be incorrect. And to Wonder Woman, mythology is more like history, because this is what she's actually learned. She's interacting with these Greek gods and goddesses as well. And so she's like, that all being said, I know what Medusa's going through. I want to help. And I'm going to offer a trade. I will give up all my powers if you grant me a single boon. And Athena agrees. Later on into the story, Wonder Woman, who no longer has her powers, gets up to the mountain of where Medusa is, and her other sisters are there as well. And she puts on a helmet and a visor, and she goes in. And so at first I thought, oh, is it the helmet that's the gift? But that's not the case. Her other sisters start beating Wonder Woman down. She doesn't have her powers. It basically sets her up so Medusa can have the final kill. And then the helmet is now off. And then Wonder Woman looks up, and she opens her eyes, and she stares directly into Medusa's face. That was the boon, that she can look at her without succumbing to, turning to stone, basically. Hell yeah. And so Medusa is taken aback by this, because she hasn't been looked at or looked into someone else's eyes and being seen for thousands of years, right? And so with that alone, Wonder Woman starts to plead why she's here in the first place. I want to help you, Medusa, and release this curse. And Medusa's obviously skeptical, because of like, why would you do this? This doesn't make any sense to me. Wonder Woman explains her whole thing. I had this curse as well, or I had to use the power anyways. I could see how terrible it is, and you don't deserve it. But you have to trust me, and you have to put the lasso, it's like, I don't even know, of sorcery basically, but it's called sacrifice. You have to put sacrifice around your arm, and it's going to be able to take it away. So Medusa hems and haws about it. She decides, okay, I'll do it. What do I have to lose, basically? And it does. It takes away her Medusa-ness and looks less serpent, and she picks her old human form, but now she's like an older woman, of course. So her and the rest of the sisters, they basically celebrate. Wonder Woman then leaves, goes back to Athena, explains all the things that happened, and Athena, who's been very hard on Wonder Woman throughout all her years, actually gives Wonder Woman a compliment at the end, and Wonder Woman has restored her powers. Nice, one-shot, incredible story, excellent artwork. The back and forth dialogue between Wonder Woman and Athena, it's just bar after bar after bar, where Athena is basically like showing your emotion, any vulnerability cannot be done. And Wonder Woman's like, but you tell me to see the whole board, you have to also add the emotional spectrum in there, or you can use that to your advantage of like knowing how someone feels emotionally. And sure enough, shows up Athena and is like, this is the way that you do it. Incredible stuff, incredible stuff. The only thing I didn't like at the end was, okay, yeah, we're gonna use the lasso, the sacrifice, and then that's basically it. And it's like, I would have liked more action towards the end there, but I guess that's fine. So here's Wonder Woman, constantly praying after all these months. Boom, the owl shows up. And from here, when you get to this splash, man, this here, holy shit, just the way it is drawn. Athena is in all gold. She almost looks like she has the armor of an owl. Her feet are like these golden talons, and then these massive, massive golden wings that spread across, and she's enormous, like this, the size of like the freaking Statue of Liberty. It is such a cool image. I love it so much. And then like the sun from the heavens shining down as Wonder Woman bows down to her. Man, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. So cool. Potentially double splash of the year. So this goes back to like a chess game that they had, and just the way that they designed Athena looks so freaking dope. And finally agree to give her the gift, and Wonder Woman's on her way. She makes it to the top. Her sisters start beating her down. Here is where Medusa is, and then that first view that Medusa has of Wonder Woman in her eyes, and she's taken aback. They start negotiating back and forth. Wonder Woman wins her over. Boom, she turns back almost to like an angelic humanoid figure, and she has like tears of joy as Wonder Woman leaves, and it's a job well done. Excellent book. Excellent book. Highly recommend it. You don't need anything else to go ahead and jump in. Just go ahead and enjoy it. It is definitely the book of the week. You got like the splash of the week. It's excellent stuff. It's not quite the cover of the week though. That is a little bit further. So yeah, Absolute Wonder Woman, the annual, I gave it a 4.5. League gave it a 4.7. Then next up here is going to be the Rocketfellers, issue number 12. Tough to catch you up on this one, and not a good time to jump in either, but I gave this one a 4. League gave it a 4.1, so very similar there. It's tough to describe because we have some time travel here, but we got Roland and his family. Roland is this scientific genius. He basically discovered a way that people can live forever, basically taking like stem cell research and like turning it to the nth degree. And his sister and brother-in-law have this crazy evil corporation. They want to take this, monetize it. There's like this corporate espionage with a competitor company. It all goes to shit when the lab is destroyed, and the sister and the brother-in-law are nearly killed. Roland and his family are forced to time travel into the past to escape from the sister, the aunt, sister-in-law, because basically she is trying to hunt them down and kill them, so that way she can have this technology all to herself, potentially bring back her husband, and then that corporation can rule on for kind of all eternity. And yeah, the best way to describe this technology is like you can live forever is the way that they have it written out. And so finally got to the point where the sister was really close to catching up to the family. They're out in the middle of the desert. Sister has Roland and is about to take him back into the future. And when she does, Roland hits something, and like if you have the two streams cross, basically there's a big explosion. So that's what happened. There was an explosion at the very end of the last issue. So we start off here, and the family comes rushing in. They find the sister, and they try to find Roland, but Roland's gone. He's disappeared. And so they're like, what the hell have you done to Roland? And she's like, what's going on? I'm in pain. And they're like, it's like, screw you and your pain. Like, you just chased us down. You've been trying to kill us, so on and so forth. She's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who you are. I don't know who I am. It's like, oh boy, here we go. Amnesia. So it is that arc of Roland's gone, completely disappeared. They have no idea where he is. Maybe he's in a different time, or a different place, unclear. And then the person that's been chasing after them this entire time has no idea what the hell is going on. So they do a good portion of like re-summarizing everything, and that's to catch you up if this is the first time you picked it up off the shelf. But now the rest of the family has taken her with her, and like they're got eyes on her, of course, in case she's showing signs of starting to regain her memory, but she does not throughout the whole issue. And so now they're trying to get back to their home. They go and they steal the camper, and they go driving off home. So that's the main plot. But the subplot here is, because this explosion happened out in the desert, U.S. government's interested. So these government officials, they're hot in their tail. They go from each spot that the family goes. They're like basically right behind them. And I'm sure they're going to catch up to them probably in the next issue, in issue number 13. So yeah, that's the Rocketfellers. Still enjoying the story. It's pretty cool. But curious, where is Roland? We don't know. So here's the explosion, and where the family is trying to find out what all is happening, but they realize that the amnesia has taken place. They're getting some food here before they head to this trailer park area. Here is where these government officials are going after them. They steal this camper real quick, and then they just head right on back as the government agency folks are right behind them. So yeah, that is the story. That's the Rocketfellers, issue number 12. Again, I gave it a 4. League gave it a 4.1, and it's a tough one to jump into. We're a little too far gone. I'll say overall for that series, it's just been from the jump a continuation and a build. There hasn't been like, this is a definitive end of this arc. So it's just tough overall to really jump into that one. And we go from one to another. World Tree is also very difficult to jump into, so I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend reading the first 5 to like 7 issues. They're incredible. Right now with World Tree, I'm like so heavily invested that I stick with it. It's a James Tynion joint, which I love, but I am starting to struggle a little bit here. So with World Tree, this is issue number 18. I gave it a 4. League gave it a 4.2. It's a good book, but each time it comes out, I have to like jog my memory as to what all is happening here, and like who again are the characters in the story, and what's taking place. So as best of a catch up that I can give you and summarize what's happening, there's this thing called the Undernet. So you go onto the internet, and rather than going to like a .com or something, go to this different domain. And when you look into it, though, it basically warps your mind, and it almost like brain controls, or mind controls you, and you start going out and just like killing people. And so these kids discovered it years and years ago, and then they sealed it off. But the problem is it got reopened, and now it's spreading around. People are seeing it on their screens, and then they're just killing a whole bunch of people. So it's like the end of the world, very apocalyptic. The beginning of the series was the discovery that this is happening and taking place, and introducing the characters and who all is involved. Then you get to the point where it goes into the far future, and its society is completely fallen out, and it's just only these creatures that have, they're more creature than they are humanoid, but have looked into this website, and they basically run the world, even though it's all in ruin. And then now, as of issue 16, I want to say, we are a little bit in the future from like day one. So maybe a couple months, not even close to a year, back in like quote unquote present day, when the fallout is just beginning to happen. So the main ringleader, Gabriel, he's died, and he died way, way back. And he released a whole video, hey, if you're seeing this, I'm dead. And he keeps referring to this guy, Gregory. So he was one of his business partners back in the day. They had a romantic relationship as well. Gabriel went super successful, and he basically started Apple. The other guy got super successful, basically started Microsoft. So not necessarily rivals in that sense, but, think enormous tech companies, and these guys are like billionaires, right? And so Gabriel says Gregory is likely the one who reopened this up. And with reopening it up, he's also the one that can shut it down. So Gregory, you need to do the right thing here. So we get that in the beginning of this issue. The FBI is investigating this. And the FBI agent sees that. So it's like, okay, I have to interview Gregory and see what else is happening here. Meanwhile, Gabriel had a group of friends that were also involved in this project too. And they're trying to do their best to contain this as well. But they're doing it more from a boots on the ground, let's build a tiny little, not even militia, but just like, how can we do this guerrilla style? So they're trying to sneak into the corporation and see what they can poke around at and figure out what else is happening too. So that's their whole subplot there. Meanwhile, Gregory, he's working with the government to try to repair everything, but he's actually like the villain. And at the very end, you see how much of a villain he is. He's in a robe. He strips off the robe, and he's got all the tattoos, the same as Sammy, who's Gabriel's sister, who's basically the one that kicked a lot of this off, and it has gone around, killing a bunch of people, introducing the internet to a whole bunch of people. And it seems like Sammy, I don't know if she reports to Gregory or if Gregory reports to her, but either way, he's for sure is way past gone. So we'll see exactly what ends up happening here. But if any of the past issues are any indication, whatever happens here clearly failed, because we were already many, many years in the future where society is completely collapsed and nothing worked. So yeah, I'll just kind of see what keeps happening here. I can tell as I'm describing it, this is confusing as hell. It's a confusing as hell book, but I'm sticking with it because I enjoyed the beginning so much. I feel like we're still part of the rising action of this volume, and hopefully this delivers as we get towards the end here. So let's show off some of the artwork here so you can get a sense of what I'm talking about. Here is where those FBI agents, they saw Gabriel's video and they're trying to see how they can get closer to Gregory, and the friends, they're trying to figure out how they get into Gregory's company. The FBI agent kind of caught a lucky break in that the FBI is working with Gregory, and so they should be able to interview him. And then here's Gregory here with all these like kind of crazy tattoos, signifying basically that he's part of this, cult basically now. So he is one of the bad guys for sure. So that's World Tree issue number 18. Again, I gave it a 4. League gave it a 4.2. Then we get to the last book from the current polls, and that is going to be Transformers issue number 29. So for this one, I gave it a 4. League gave it a 4.2. I will say for this book for sure, it is the cover of the week. We have Optimus going up against Megatron 1v1. Looks pretty dope. For this book here, it is just a big battle, right? So Megatron and the Decepticons have arrived. They are fighting the Autobots, trying to get to Soundwave. And sure enough, they do get Soundwave, and they get them out of there. But the Autobots are the ones that really have the advantage, and they are kicking the Decepticons' butt. So the Decepticons get pushed back, but they have Soundwave. They have what they came for. So they end up retreating. And as they're retreating and leaving, Alita 1, who is one of the Autobots that was on Cybertron, and she was on Earth for a little bit. She went back to Cybertron. Now she's back on Earth. Yells out to Optimus, "You need to start taking orders from me now." And the whole history between these two is Alita doesn't give a shit about Earth. Doesn't care whatsoever. She cares about the war that's happening on Cybertron. And it's like, hey, Prime, you are the leader of the Autobots. Why are you fighting on this dirt planet? We got to go and save our home planet. So that was her whole issue before. And she's like, all right, you stay here. You do whatever you got to do. I'm going to fight the real war on Cybertron. But now she's come back, and that's the cliffhanger of like, Optimus, you need to start taking orders from me, is the way that it closes out. So good stuff. Look forward to it. Let's go ahead and show off the art. It is, mostly a battle scene. I think this also suffers a little bit from the issue that DCKO had as well. This has an awesome full spread here. So difference here, right, where I said a double page splash, whereas this is like a double page spread. This is, two scenes that go together. So on the left-hand side, it's the standoff of the Autobots. On the right-hand side, it's the standoff of the Decepticons. So you have Optimus on one side and then Megatron on the other. So this would be defined as a spread, whereas what I showed before is a splash, because it's like just one image that happens to be spread across, kind of 2 pages basically. And so, yeah, this is more of like kind of a full spread here. But anyways, that spread is dope. But you can see here, like sometimes from some of these pages and these panels, it's like, I'm not quite sure what all is happening here until I like really focus in on the panels and the detail. It is like good overlapping juxtaposition on like a lot of these objects. However, it's almost a little detrimental with how, the different angles it tries to take of like each part of the battle, because it's not extraordinarily clear. So it does suffer a little bit there, which is more of why I gave it a 4 rather than a 4.5. Then here we have Alita 1 at the end, who's arrived and is basically like, yeah, Optimus, we got to stop doing this whole thing fighting on Earth. Let's go back to Cybertron. So that's Transformers issue number 29. I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.2. Not the right time to jump in, but I think issue number 25 is the time to jump in. That's where Robert Kirkman started this run, and so we're just a couple issues into that. So with that, now we get to the backlogs here. We're going to go to Saga issue number 50. This volume has been a lot tamer than what Saga has been previously, so we'll see where it all goes. This issue, I gave it a 4. Lee, as always, it gives all of Saga a 4.5 or higher. For me, it's just more of the rising action that we have in this volume. So to get you caught up here, we have Alana, we have Marco. Alana's got horns. Marco's got horns, Alana's got wings. They have a child, but they're in this huge intergalactic war, these two races that involve multiple species, but the horns and the wings, they do not like each other. There's a big old war. So the fact that you have two of them together and they have a child, it would be a crazy, crazy story to break, right? So they are on the run, and they have some reporters with them as part of their crew. And the reporters, they want to break this story. And they're like, hey, our company will pay for what would be like the tippity top of witness protection, where you guys would change how you look. You could go ahead and live off your lives, because this story is going to be the biggest story that ever breaks in like the history of the universe. So Marco and Alana, they turn it down, but they are with Prince Robot and Petrie, who have kind of fallen in love. They got their little relationship thing going on, and the son Squire, and Prince Robot's like, hey, if you offer me the same deal, I am willing to take it. Even though on his face he says, like, please don't take this deal. This will be the death of me. Please don't take this deal. This will be the death of me. So that is the end of issue number 49. Issue 50 here is just more talking about it. So you have Marco and Alana, they're together. It's like a Valentine's Day, which is so fitting because it's literally Valentine's Day tomorrow. I'm recording it Friday, but Valentine's Day when this comes out. And so they're getting together and having a deeper conversation about, like, is it the right thing to do? Is it not? But now they still are on the firm side of like, no, we're doing the right thing, but let's just stay ourselves and, continue to go from planet to planet. So they're sticking with their guns there. Prince Robot and Petrie, they intend on going through with this, so they're telling all their story to the reporters. And then Squire, he's talking with his buddies, Goose and the Walrus, and he's basically like, yeah, you're about to leave and stuff, like, take my sword and stuff, we're going to miss you. And Squire is pretending like everything's okay and it's going to be fine, but he's actually planning on running away because he doesn't want to be part of this. So that is what's happening there. And then meanwhile, the Diplomat and the Will, they are hot on the tail of trying to catch up to the crew here, and they're very, very close. They get to a guy's house, and it seems like he made a whole bunch of money, like being a gigolo or a drug dealer or something along those lines. And so they have him, they're interrogating him and trying to see if they can get information so that way they can get closer to the family, because if they break this story also, great piece of leverage to use on either side of the war, could get them filthy rich, so on and so forth. But I say they. The Diplomat has the Will as a slave, basically. So that's the story. Let me try to show off what I can here, because this issue has a lot of sex. So this is basically where they're having their conversation, trying to figure all out what's happening here. Goose with his conversation with Squire, but he's actually planning on leaving away or running away, as you can see with the little piece that he has down there. And then from there, honestly, I don't know if I can show the rest because Saga and how it could be. But yeah, it's a cool story. Less intergalactic war, more of like coming to grips of like identity and who you are and why you do the things that you do, things along those lines, right? So more on the sentimental side of things, which is cool. So I'm along for the ride for sure. Definitely not a good time to jump in, right? With Saga, you really just want to start from the beginning. So next up, Poison Ivy. Issue number 18, the conclusion to volume number 3. With this one, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. What we have here is Poison Ivy. in the first couple of issues, went across the country trying to spread this virus. What she didn't realize, though, is she actually was spreading it, and it was incubating in a whole bunch of people. They've now turned into a bunch of zombies, and they're heading towards Gotham. They arrived, and these zombies are attacking. It's her, Killer Croc's with her, and then Solomon Grundy shows up, and they start taking out these zombies one by one. So that was the cliffhanger in 17. In 18, picks up immediately there, and they continue to fight off the zombies as best as possible, and it seems like they gotten them, this wave of zombies anyways, defeated, which gives Poison Ivy more time to finalize synthesizing the antidote. So she does as much as she can with the makeshift lab that she has, but she's like, oh, crap, you know what I have to do? I gotta find Batman, because Batman's gonna be able to scale this at mass production to be able to protect all of Gotham. So she hands him the antidote. Obviously Batman is like, this is Poison Ivy, so like, is this some sort of trap? He takes it anyways, all while insulting her all the whole way, and then he leaves. So now Poison Ivy feels a little bit better, but she still doesn't know if he's going to be able to scale it up to what they actually need. But meanwhile, she's been having these pangs in her stomach this whole time. And you can see the cover here, and this is the cover for the 18th issue as well. She is like kind of makeshift pregnant, if you'll remember at the end of volume 1, after she defeats who was her professor and like the whole reason she got her powers in the first place. She ended up consuming him, like all of like the viscera and stuff. She just ate it. Well, apparently that's been gestating inside of her, and sure enough, at the end of the issue, she collapses and faints, and out comes the professor as this monster reborn that was living as a parasite or growing and festering inside of Poison Ivy this whole time. And that's cliffhanger. So Poison Ivy is like on the ground. You don't even see like where it comes out of her. It like looks like it like bursts out of her stomach. So it's like, is she even still alive still? I don't even know. And then you just basically get an image of him at the end. So crazy way to end the volume there. But yeah, it's kind of interesting stuff. So let's see. We have... got to go a little bit further. Okay, so yeah, here's where the action basically starts with all the fighting. And Solomon Grundy, Poison Ivy, and Killer Croc all working together. Here's where they get the antidote. And she's like, all right, screw it. I got to go find Batman. He needs to help scale this whole thing up. Here's where she's starting to get those pangs again. And she collapses and faints. And then when that happens there, this is where the monster starts to come out of her. Boom. At the end there. So it's not entirely clear, like, how does it erupt out of her? Does she turn into that? She's got just blood all over the place, so TBD. Who knows? It could be one of those things where it's a dream or something like that too. So we'll go ahead and figure it out. But yeah, that is Poison Ivy issue number 18. Again, I gave it a 4. Lee gave it a 4.1. It's not going to be a good time to jump into this one, but if you want to pick up at volume number 4, you might be okay. That was just the conclusion of volume 3. Then we have Issunboshi Chapter number 4. So this is a graphic novel. There is no rating on League, but as of right now, this is leaning towards a 4.5 all day. I am enjoying the hell out of it. It is an Oni Press joint. And so the story for this, we got 4 different elements in this make-believe world, but you know, it's kind of like an old world Japan. And if you unite these 4 different elements, one's like the spirit, wood, stone, and maybe like dirt or clay. Combine all that and you control and have all the power of Japan. So this demon has 3 of the 4. Issunboshi is the 4th. He is the essence of wind. And he lived his whole life as a normal kid, except for the fact that he is literally the size of a thumb. Don't quite know why. His parents knew that he was special. It's kind of a coming of age thing. He's attacked. When he's attacked, he wakes up and he's saved by the sensei, who explains that whole fairy tale of like who he actually is, and there's this demon coming to attack. Then he is attacked, he fails, and it seems like this demon has now the spirit. And so from there, now we get to chapter 4, and the sensei talks to Issunboshi of like, you're defeated, but you're down, but you're not out. So you're not a completely defeated at this point. And very fast-paced book. Just immediately get back to it, and it's like, we gotta chase down the demon. So it's the sensei and the 2, I guess, kind of captains, if you will, that helped train up Issunboshi in the previous chapters. They all gather together. They know where the demon's hiding now. Like, we have to go now, because now he has all 4 elements. If we don't act now, that's going to be our one and only shot. So we just got to do what we got to do. And so they come up with a plan where Issunboshi is going to mostly focus on the main demon. Everyone else is going to focus on the ads, right? Like all the additional folks. And so that's exactly what happens. Everyone else leaves like kind of a straight line for Issunboshi to just face off against the demon. And that is the cliffhanger of chapter 4 that then leads into chapter 5. So it is an awesome, fast-paced book. I love the artwork as well. It's very, Saturday morning cartoon. That's the way that I would describe it. A little bit of Battle Chasers, but it's also all in black and white too, which is super dope also. So just trying to flip over to specifically chapter 4. So you can take a look here. Here you can kind of see what I'm talking about of like, and especially like the characters themselves, like a bit of like Mulan as well, like almost like a Disney or Pixar art style. It's just so good. And it's like, how has nobody reviewed this on League? It's incredible stuff. The book itself, $25. And if you can find it on sale, go ahead and get it. Or you find it in a library or something along those lines. But here's where the battle is starting to take place, where all the warriors, including Issunboshi, take it to him. And so they're fighting all these skeletons, the demons there. And then sure enough, he squares off against Issunboshi. Boom, one-on-one, renewed confidence. Bring it on. Let's freaking go. So yeah, that's Issunboshi, chapter number 4. We'll kind of keep working through this bad boy. I'm about halfway through, so maybe it's the length of like 8 chapters in total, maybe 10. But it's a good, quick read too. It's one of those where I look forward to reading it because it's like I'm going to get some great action scenes, some great art, and then get through the story pretty quickly, which is nice for someone who reads this many books. Don't mind longer books from here and there, but other times it does feel nice to get like, all right, this one's going to take literally 5 minutes to cruise through. All right, so a little sip of tea, but the next one here is going to be Fables, issue 160. Very close to the end of this one, just 2 more issues after this. I gave this one a 4. League gave it a 4 as well.
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
And so this book here, we are finally getting to the big battle. So this takes a whole bunch of fairy tales and folklores and kind of spins them on their head a little bit. So the main bad guy ends up being Peter Pan, and Tinkerbell. So those are like the main 2 bad ones. But we are in this magical forest, and 3 folks have claims to the land. It's Jack in the Green, who is this woman who now claims this title, and she says that she is the protector of the forest. We have this head werewolf guy who says basically the same thing. This is my land that I've settled on, and I'm claiming it. And this ancient demon who just was released from this box that he was caged in, along with his son. So that was a couple issues ago. Meanwhile, Peter has shown up in the forest and slaughtered a whole bunch of animals, innocent animals. And so the 3 that want this claim to the forest, they basically come up with the pack of like, whoever solves this mystery gets to claim the forest. And the werewolf in particular confronts Peter, but not until after Peter sends Tinkerbell out, who kills the demon's son. So the demon's son's dead. The demon is crying. It can't focus. So the werewolf goes after Peter, and they fight in this issue of issue 160. For a majority of this issue, it's their fight back and forth. First, Peter seems like he has a chance. The werewolf transforms. Werewolf has the advantage. Ends up kind of being a stalemate towards the end of the issue. Meanwhile, in the real world, Cinderella is a spy in the government. And you have this mix of magic spilling into the real world and then spilling back into this magical forest. So Cinderella realizes there are a whole bunch of these other boxes, like that demon that was dumped out into the real world. She sends a whole bunch of resources and military out there to defend it. When she does, she overstepped her powers, and now the administration is firing her and getting rid of her. So that's like a subplot that's taking place. Then lastly, at the very end, while the werewolf and Peter are going one-on-one, Tinkerbell is now going after the other werewolf children, and specifically going after the daughter that was dating the demon's son. So she's about to, what seems like, kill her, but right before she does, Peter calls Tinkerbell back because, they're having that stalemate between the werewolf king and Peter, and that's the cliffhanger. So nearly she died, but fortunately that was not the case. And this issue has or series has no problem with just killing people left, right, and center. So I was actually a little bit worried towards the end, but that was not the case. Go ahead and show off the artwork here. Artwork simplistic. It's just like a nice, like, fast-paced moving story thus far, which I am quite enjoying. At first I was a little skeptical about it. I really just honestly bought it because it was a inexpensive book, to be perfectly honest, but now I am quite enjoying it and want to see where all this is going to land, who is going to end up getting the forest, and how that all is going to work. Is Peter going to be destroyed? How are they going to stop Tinkerbell? Because Tinkerbell is like perceived to be by far and away the most dangerous entity, and she truly is like just the tiny little Tinkerbell in all of this. So here's where she's about to attack the daughter here, and then she gets called away at the very last second before the issue ends. So yeah, Fables 160, looking forward to it. We're at the climax for sure, and we'll be wrapping it up soon. And you know, it's a trade, so obviously you would just pick up the whole hardcover than trying to catch up at any particular point. That goes also for our last book here, Echolands, issue number 3. So I gave this issue a 4. Lee gave it a 4.3. This one is an art showpiece for sure, and I went ahead and just picked this up on a whim a couple years ago and finally getting through it now. It is very long, like almost like comic strip style, very elongated, but it is so cool the way that this book is broken out. And we're in this crazy fantastical world. We have Red Hood and her crew of thieves. They've stolen this gem and they've escaped from the wizards is the big bad guy, but specifically the wizard's daughter. And so now they're at sea trying to escape. Start of issue 3. The ship is destroyed and completely shipwrecked, and the whole crew are now fighting like these sea serpents, and they're all marooned at a island, and it happens to be Treasure Island. Some of them don't make it, some are lost at sea, but the main core is kind of still there. And Red Hood is like, oh, we're at Treasure Island. I used to date a guy here, we can go see him. And he happens to be in charge of the whole island. So when they get to him, Red Hood and this guy start negotiating, and Red Hood just wants a ship and says, you can have this gem in return, which is the gem that they stole in the first place. But they just are looking for safe passage to kind of get away. And knowing Red Hood from what I do of these first couple issues, I don't have a feeling that she gave him the actual gem, so we'll have to see. But after some negotiation, the guy agrees. And so they go and they take them to where the ships are. But they actually take them kind of underwater. And who knows, this world is like super fantastical. Maybe they have to go underwater to get to the place that they need to be. But they're in this submarine underwater. Meanwhile, he and Red Hood actually broke his heart, right? So he loves her, but he's kind of pissed at her. And sure enough, he makes a deal with the wizard and the wizard's daughter of, I have Red Hood here, I have the people you're looking for. And the wizard's daughter is like, that's great and all, but at the end of the day, all we really want is the gem. And that ends up being kind of the cliffhanger, because he supposedly now has the gem. So is he going to reveal that? Is he going to hold on to it? Does he even have the real gem? TBD. But the party is in a little bit of danger, and things in this whole series have been extraordinarily fast-paced. Still kind of continuing that way. So I am enjoying it. Oh, the final piece. One of the guys that was lost at sea, he gets washed up at a different island, and there are like a whole bunch of like Gundam robots, almost like Autobots and Decepticons that show up there. And the guy's like, you're breaking a treaty of like thousands of years. Welcome to whatever they end up calling the place. And it's like, it says she's a straight up Gundam. It's such a wild artistic showpiece, but it's so cool. So let's go ahead, flip to that issue for number 3. This is still 2. Here we go. So here is where they are, and then when they get washed up on sea, so you can see all like the sea monsters, they get washed up onto the islands, and you can see like the deep saturation and like how crazily detailed all this stuff is. And it's like such a long book, right? It's like crazy how this thing is all drawn and written and continuous. You'd think it'd be confusing reading it, but it's actually pretty good. as far as like its readability. So sure enough, that's where they make the deal, and then they go into like this underwater. They have to go down through that submarine. But here, of course, is where the boyfriend or the ex-boyfriend's making the deal with the wizard and trying to get the gem back, while deep down there's like some explosions that are taking place as well. And then at the very, very end, where that guy is washed up, here's that Gundam where it's like, you are breaking this treaty, but welcome to, what is it, Mantaro Mountain or something like that. And it looks like this crazy futuristic thing. So yeah, cool book, enjoying it. Definitely worth picking up. It was, just this issue here was $5. I was like, there's no way on planet Earth that thing was $5. But this thing is $35. Definitely an art show piece. If you get it on sale, I would recommend it there. Lee gave it a 4.2, for this particular issue. I, of course, gave it a 4. So, and Lee gave it a 4.3. So yeah, that is it. Those are the books. That's all 10 for this episode. Go ahead, put all the books back up here so you can see everything that we reviewed and talk through it really quickly just in case you forgot. So we had DCKO issue number 4. For this one, Lex Luthor looks like he is going to be the Omega King, but he may still have to face off against Darkseid. We had the Absolute Wonder Woman annual with her lifting the curse of Medusa. The Rocketfellers issue number 12. The sister now has amnesia, and the family's trying to figure out where Roland is. World Tree issue number 18. Everyone's trying to get after Gregory, but Gregory for sure is already converted. Transformers issue number 29, the Autobots, they get the better of the Decepticons, but the Decepticons now have Soundwave, and Alita has shown back up from Cybertron. Saga issue number 50, Alana and Marco sticking to their guns, but Squire looks like he's going to run away, and then the Diplomat and the Will are still chasing down everyone. Poison Ivy issue number 18, zombies are defeated for now. Antidote's being scaled up by Batman, but Poison Ivy basically gives birth to the villain from the first couple of issues. Issunboshi, he and the crew, they go to fight and take on the demon before he can get all powerful. Fables issue number 160. We have the werewolf facing off with Peter. Meanwhile, Tinkerbell was about to kill the werewolf daughter, but then gets summoned back to Peter. And then Echoland issue number 3. We got Red Hood making deals with her ex-boyfriend looking for passage, but he looks to be betraying her and actually making a deal with the wizard and his daughter. So yeah, those are the 10 books. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll go ahead and show off the polls for next week before we go ahead and close things out. We are locked and loaded with 7 books. Again, not going to be able to review them for next Saturday, but they'll be likely featured either on an Omega or the week after. So we'll have Absolute Batman issue number 17, The Darkness issue number 3. I did drop this one, so it ends up being a
no thanks.
No thanks. So I was actually trying to shorten up the list a little bit. So that'll be the last issue that we have for that one. Then it's going to be Exquisite Corpses issue number 10, G.I. Joe number 19, Minor Arcana number 14, Ultimate Spider-Man number 24, and then X-Men number 25. So those 7 books will be in the polls. I'm trying to think actually through my head. I don't know if I'll be able to pick up the books before the next Omega. So the Omega, when I get back, may actually just be a whole bunch of backlogs. Then that Saturday issue will be a mix of books that I picked up from that. The polls I just mentioned now, plus the polls that are kind of out for that week. And then we'll continue to work through, those backlog of 19 or so books before we're all caught up again. So that'll be the plan. Again, no show next Saturday, but there will be some stuff coming up after that. So yeah, with that, I think we're going to go ahead and close it out. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to follow the show on social media, check out the description below. And then if you'd like to support the show monetarily, there's a link down there, buymeacoffee.com/ Saturday Morning Review. All proceeds would basically go towards buying some comic books. So if you'd like to help out that way, that is the way to do it. So yeah, we'll go ahead and close it out. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Go, 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 go.
This has been a DMW production. Thanks for stopping by.